What exactly will you learn in a MSF New Rider course, and who should be taking that class? This week on MCrider, let's talk about it. Before we get into the video this week, I ran a contest a couple weeks ago giving away some MCrider merchandise, and I've got the random winners for that selected on MCrider. You can go to mcrider.com/contest. I've got the winners listed there and a way for you to contact me so that you can claim your prize. So head over to mcrider.com/contest and see if you won. So the MSF, or the Motorcycle Safety Foundation, is the developer of motorcycle training courses and the certifier of rider coaches as well. And their mission is to promote a lifelong learning and riding community that further develops riders on the street and instructors who teach those riders. Now, I was a rider coach for several years, teaching the new rider class and the BRC2. In addition to teaching for the MSF, I was certified to teach the Total Control Intermediate class that's developed by Lee Parks. So the Total Control books, I taught that course as well. Now, it's safe to assume that I believe in rider training, and I feel it should be a part of every rider's experience. Every rider develops habits as they ride, and some of these habits have a greater impact on your ability to ride well than others, and that's one of the reasons why I'm such a firm believer in-person training. Now, I can do a video on emergency braking and how to practice emergency stops. 10 people may watch that video, go out to a parking lot, and 5 of them will do it correctly. 3 will lock up the rear brake, 1 will lock up both tires, and 1 rider will swear that I told him to lay down the bike as an evasive maneuver. That's just the way it is. Some people are better at listening than others, and some people are really poor listeners, or they think they understand the message and they shut their brains off before they fully comprehend the message. So if you're taking a new rider class and it comes time to perform that emergency stop and you attempt to dismount your motorcycle at 20 miles per hour, hopefully you'll have a rider coach on hand to correct that little problem and tell you how to stop your motorcycle safely. I fully believe that a new rider class is not just for new riders, though. I can't tell you how many times that I've seen riders come into a class who had some serious miles under their belt and they had horrible riding fundamentals. Now, this was a lesson I learned early on in my coaching career. At the start of the class, we'd introduce ourselves and talk about any experiences that we had with motorcycles. Early on, I would hear a rider say that they'd been riding for 10 years, that they'd been on several road trips. And I'd think, okay, this is one rider that's squared away. I won't have to think about this guy a whole lot when we get out on the parking lot. But about 3 or 4 classes into my career, I would hear a rider say that, talking about his riding skills, and mentally I'd say, well, we'll see when we get out to the parking lot. Now, the bad part was many of these riders who thought they were squared away but had horrible riding fundamentals felt it was their mission to also be an assistant coach to me out on the range, and oftentimes they would provide horrible advice to other new riders. So that's part of the problem with being self-taught or being taught by your uncle or a family member who's been riding his whole life. The MSF will teach you correct fundamentals, and in my opinion, those fundamentals should be mastered before a rider starts fogging their minds with alternative methods of doing anything on a motorcycle. So new riders need a class. Many experienced riders could benefit from a class as well to hone their skills and to address any bad habits that they've developed along the way. You know, the great thing about the new rider class is it's taught in a manner that requires no motorcycle riding experience or knowledge beforehand. The prerequisites vary by some state, but you'll want to be able to ride a bicycle before you take the class. If you haven't ridden a bike in a good while, it'd be a good idea to get out and practice on a bike before you go take the class. In the classroom or the virtual learning portions of the class, you'll learn more about the motorcycles and the parts of the motorcycle, where the controls are located, and how to properly use them. You'll learn about proper gear and finding the right fit on the motorcycle and the right fit for the gear to protect you on the motorcycle. And you'll learn some of the road strategies that you'll use once you actually start getting out on the street. You don't have to own a motorcycle beforehand, but let me say this real quick. I think it's in the advantage of most people to not buy a motorcycle before they take the class, because you're going to learn something whenever you're in that class, and what you think you might want may not actually be the correct motorcycle. But another important point is, as soon as that class is over, you need to be ready to buy a motorcycle, because the worst thing you can do is take that class and then buy a bike 6 months later, because practically everything you've learned in that class you'll forget within that 6-month time frame. So be ready to go and start practicing on your own once you get out of the class. Now, the course is going to provide a training motorcycle for you, and once you get on the motorcycle, you'll start with the very basics of motorcycle control. I really like how the course starts with the very basics, and then it builds from there on those skills. If you're a new rider, you'll really need to pay attention, especially early on, because the skills that you develop early on, you'll build upon those with each learning exercise that you perform out on the range. Some of the stuff that you'll get direct hands-on experience with in the MSF class and have a chance to practice on the motorcycle is motorcycle familiarization. You'll figure out the friction zone and where it's located, starting and stopping a motorcycle, shifting and stopping a motorcycle, pressing to initiate lean and adjusting lean through a corner, stopping more quickly. You'll work on limited space maneuvers, you know, that terrible U-turn that everybody has struggles with. You'll stop in a curve and learn curve judgment and multiple curves, crossing over obstacles. You'll ride over a 2x4 or an obstacle on the road and understand that the motorcycle can handle more than we might initially think it could. And then you'll finish the 2-day class with the skills evaluation, where you'll get to demonstrate the skills and the techniques that you've learned and practiced throughout the 2 days. Now, most riders will pass the very first time they take the class, but many riders require a few trips through the class before they can pass the skills eval at the end of the day. A lot of times, that's just a mental block for the rider. When it comes evaluation time, they freeze up and they do things on that eval that they've not done all weekend. So if you can just take deep breaths and relax, not worry about that evaluation too much, you'll be a whole lot better off because of it. Now, just because you didn't pass the first time in the evaluation portion doesn't mean that you don't have what it takes to ride a motorcycle. That's a choice that you're going to need to make. And if you're having fun in the class and you're having fun with the experience and it's something you want to continue to pursue, man, I say go for it. I know a whole lot of successful riders who've had to take the new rider class multiple times in order to get their license. So we're in the middle of winter, and in many places it's too cold to ride right now. There's not a whole lot of classes available in some areas, so why this video? Well, because now's the time that you want to register for the classes in the spring. Do a Google search, put your zip code in and search for new rider class, and I'll bet you'll find some classes in your area, and you can register for those in the spring. New riders, and in my opinion, experienced riders, can benefit from a refresher class. Also, if there were some topics that interested you in those things that I listed that you'll learn in the new rider class, if you go onto YouTube and do a search for MCrider attached to whatever it is you're looking for, whatever topic interests you. So if you search for MCrider stopping in a curve or MCrider emergency braking, I'm sure you'll find some videos that I've already created that'll help you get a better understanding of that topic and some ways that you can practice it on your own. But remember, it's not a substitute for in-person training. The videos that I provide here are an addendum. They're an added bonus, and they're something to allow you to practice on your own. In addition to the videos that I produce every week, you can become a member of MCrider at mcrider.com/member. And I've got a section of the forums called the Field Guide that's full of training exercises. You can practice those on your own. They're going to have coaching tips, video demonstrations, problem corrections, and exercise layouts. It's a huge benefit for riders who want to continue to develop their skills, or if you've gotten through the MSF class and you've forgotten some of the things that you worked on there, it's a good refresher to develop those skills and keep working on it on your own. So I'd love to hear your experiences about taking the new rider class. Do you have any exceptional stories of something that happened in your class? Leave a comment below. Let us read it and share that common experience together. And until next time, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.